So this is my recording for the discussion or assignment. Is it time to end patient shielding in radiology? I have my notes here that I wrote. So, question number one, what was your initial reaction, thoughts upon reading the article? So, as a second year X-ray student, my initial reaction was honestly a mix of surprise and confusion. Since the beginning of the program, we've obviously been taught that shielding is like a key part of protecting the patient, especially when it comes to like reproductive organs, children, or like pregnant patients. So it's been drilled into us as a basic standard of care. So reading that experts like are now calling for completely like abandoning shielding really challenged what I thought I knew. But after reading through like the full article and understanding the reasoning, like how it mentioned like internal scatter is the main source of radiation to tissue outside of like the imaging field and how shielding doesn't actually block that, that started to kind of make more sense. I also didn't realize, or like we don't really realize much that modern equipment nowadays has reduced radiation doses. Um, and obviously, shielding can compromise the image, or it could increase like repeat rates, especially if it's like in the field of collimation. So I understood that part. But it definitely like made me rethink some of what I've learned and kind of opened my eyes to how radiology practices kind of continue to evolve, especially with new evidence. Um, Question number two states, argue whether or not you believe patient shielding is important to provide your patients during radiographic examinations. So right now, I kind of am in between, based on what I've been taught, like I said, and like habits I've developed in school. I do still value patient shielding, especially in cases where it's more like comfort for the patient, whether it's like psychological, if they're nervous. Patients as well are so used to shielding, especially like, or getting shielded, especially when they're the ones getting x-rays. So they really don't know as much as what we might know. So sometimes they're expected to be shielded. So again, it's just like a level of comfort for them. And again, we also know that shielding could interfere with an image. So yeah, it could, I'm kind of in between. I have been in situations in clinical sites where some techs won't shield at all, and they bring up the topic. Even to the patients, they tell them, it's actually more harmful um, than it is good for them. And they kind of just look confused. So it's just a little in between right now, in my perspective. Clinically, in every exam I do, I always shield. I just kind of picked up that routine. I was taught that way and I stick to it. As for now, I'll probably continue to do that um, until it kind of just becomes a real thing that they just completely get rid of shielding. Um, so yeah, the article, I think, makes like a strong point that shielding might not be as helpful as we thought. In some cases, it could even cause problems, like I said, interfering with the image, repeats, things like that. Um, yeah, so I was surprised to learn that radiation hasn't really been shown to cause inherited effects in humans, and that using shielding, might make people feel safer than it actually does. Um, so yeah, so why I think shielding, still has a place, especially when it helps ease patients, anxiety or nerves. Um, I also now believe it's important for us as future techs to stay current with research and be prepared to adjust our practice as evidence evolves. I don't think shielding should be completely abandoned right away, but we should start shifting our thinking and kind of like focus on educating patients about the science behind the change, just like the article suggests, whether it be like us speaking to them prior to doing the exam and mentioning it, or it should be an option whether the patient wants to be shielded or not. But yeah, my thoughts kind of go back and forth, but like I mentioned, being an X-ray student, I'll probably still continue to shield and just go from there. Thanks.